Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube. And today is my second video of today, Sunday, April 23rd. This is going to be a diamond paint with me, a WIP and chat. We're going to chat. Okay, I'm trying to get situated here. What color? I guess I'm gonna try to do, see, this is the last row of Queen of Hearts. And I put washi tape here on the side only because the glue border here had like a whole bunch of black fuzz and hair, and I'm like, ugh. So I just covered it up just so I wouldn't have to look at it. So let me get some putty in my pan. And I'm using the bubble gum one. Yubba Bubba Gum. It smells just like Hubba Bubba. Like, it's uncanny. It smells so good. Okay. So, we have some stuff to chat about today. I hope everybody has had a good weekend. My weekend's been good. Let me get... Let's do 4. So Friday, I don't remember what we had for dinner, but I was off on Friday. We were supposed to have a job and then it rescheduled. So then I was able to be off. And oh, I actually had sushi for dinner. I haven't had sushi in a while. And we had like these chicken kebabs to make. And by the time it got to dinner time, I was like, I don't feel like having those. You ever do that? And I was like, I would really love sushi. And Bill's like, I'll eat the chicken kebabs if you want to go ahead and order it. I'm like, are you sure? Because, you know, it's like 20 bucks, 30 bucks for sushi when I get it. It was so good though. It was so good. So yeah, we just watched TV, had that. We were in bed by 10. I didn't do any stitching on Friday. I did do diamond painting. I got quite a bit of diamond painting done while listening to more episodes of the Normal Gossip podcast. Holy moly. Holy hell, what people are doing. Life choices. Such a good podcast, though. So, got a bunch of diamond painting done. There's like a piece of something on there. What is that? Fuzz. I gotta get that one. It's amazing how much these canvases pick up every tiny little thing, because especially the round ones, because there's little, I gotta use tweezers. There's little spaces in between the diamonds. You know, there's gaps because it's circles. I feel like I'm performing surgery here. Oh, I almost got it. Come on, you little bugger. And man, these canvases are really sticky. Like, it doesn't want to come up. I might just put a diamond over it. I think I got it, or I pushed it. I pushed it into the dark spots. Okay. So Saturday, we got up and I had a massage at 9 o'clock. And then we took Charlize out driving. We had lunch. She's doing really well. And it was supposed to storm at about 3 o'clock. So we decided, we dropped her back off, or she drove us back to my mom's. And then we went to the grocery store because we were having hamburgers for dinner. We needed a couple things. Plus we wanted to get some stuff for tonight's dinner. So we kind of got caught in the storm, but it was fine. I mean, it wasn't too ridiculous. And then we got home about 3:30-ish. We played Yahtzee. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw. I mean, we hadn't played Yahtzee in a long time. And I forgot that my nickname when last time we played was Sassy Pants. That's what I had written on the scorecard. And then Bill had gotten Yahtzee, so I took a picture of that. Yeah, he beat me. He won. I think I only won 1 game out of 3 that we played. It was a good time, though. I have, like, the travel set of it. So, and it's, like, the deluxe set where the dice are, like, really soft. Like, smooth. Not soft. Smooth. So that was our Saturday, and Bill went to bed at 8:30 because remember he gets up for work on Sundays now. And I stitched some. So if you watched my video I posted before this one, I actually showed my stitching progress, and I'm doing really well on this design, the Carolyn Manning one. And yeah, so got more stitching done. And then our plan for dinner tonight was pulled pork in the crock pot. So the key to it for us is having it in the crock pot like 12 hours. So when I got up at 5:15 to make Bill's lunch, I also got all the stuff in the crock pot. And I could have went back to bed, but I didn't. I got coffee. I read my Bible. Now, I will admit, I'm fully transparent. I have not read my Bible in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I haven't done a gratitude list in that long. It's almost like I needed a break from it, but I always feel better, and my day always seems to go better when I do read the Bible and spend time doing that. So I wanted to read you a passage because I flipped to the book of Jeremiah, and I hadn't read that one before. And you know, sometimes I just, because I have Joyce Meyer's annotated Bible where she puts her own like interpretation and thoughts throughout the books, sometimes I will just get a book, flip through a book, and just read what she has written. I will just read her interpretations and her points of things that she wants you to know. And this is what I was doing in the book of Jeremiah. So this is considered by her a life point. So she says, we need him, meaning God, just as we need food, water, and air to breathe. When you spend time with God, everyone knows. You become calmer. You are easier to get along with. You do not lose control of your emotions as quickly. Your patience increases. Wisdom is manifested through you. And your heart soon understands what God likes and what offends him. As with any friend, the more time you spend with God, the more you become like him. Spend time with God today. Make it a priority. Your life depends on it because he is your vital necessity. And I just love that little passage because it's completely true. When I consistently, and this is me, when I consistently read the Bible, spend time doing that, I am definitely a much calmer, happier person. And you know, all the little like trials and tribulations that we go through serve a purpose. It's a test, I feel like, by God. I mean, I read that too in Jeremiah, that He does. He'll give us those kinds of things to test us, to test our faith, to test our strength. And, you know, that is probably one of my worst traits, is that I get bothered by a lot of things, a lot of little annoyances and irritations. And I'm really just praying about it and trying to not be like that, because I don't want to be like that. But yeah, I spent a good bit of time with the Bible today. Okay, then I spent some time on Facebook. So I hadn't been in the Facebook groups for a long, long while. It had been a good chunk of time. And I said, you know what? I got time. I mean, it was still only like 6:37. I said, let me get another cup of coffee and sit here and try to find some topics to talk about. Well, in one of the cross-stitch groups I belong to, this woman posted, and what group is it in if you guys want to go check out the post? Okay, it's in Mirror Mirror on the Wall. It's a Mirabilia group. She was stitching Aphrodite. She said, I'm stitching along and I just saw some discoloration. The sun burned a patch, burned a hole through her fabric. And she said, I don't think it is salvageable. Any ideas? So she showed a picture of it, and it was a hole clean through the fabric. And it was from her magnifier. There has been such caution, and I've read different posts about it where this has happened to people. The sun hits your magnifier of the right way, it will burn a hole through your fabric, and it could possibly even start a fire. A lot of people suggested that she put a charm there, which the hole wasn't giant. So I think if she puts a charm there, she could salvage it. She had so much of it stitched, I can see and understand her devastation by far. But I saw that, and when I clicked on the picture, I said, oh my goodness, no. Yeah. So just take a note. Be careful. If you have a magnifier, they make like covers for it. Cover it up when you're not using it. Okay, so the biggest topic, now before I say this, I keep forgetting to tell you guys that Carolyn Manning has 3 new designs. 4 new designs. 5 new designs. And they're gorgeous. One is Thor, Loki, Frigg, Valkyrie, and then Open. Oh my God. They're in her like stained glass. They're gorgeous. The Shooting Stars, the Shooting Star series. If you go to her website, they're right there. They're the first ones. Oh my. They're so, so gorgeous. But the biggest topic that I wanted to talk to you about today is Diamond Art Club. So, and I don't know why it took me this long to come to this decision. I know I've mentioned this before, but I used to, up until this morning, I belonged to a number of diamond painting groups. And I just don't understand the constant attack on Diamond Art Club. I don't understand it. And I said to myself, after I saw yet another post today, not in my 2 favorite groups for diamond painting are the Diamond Art Club VIP group and the DAC fans, the Diamond Art Club fans, where you can destash your kits, buy kits. Those are my 2 favorite groups. And those are the only diamond painting groups I currently belong to now. Because I said, you know what? That's it. To avoid seeing all of that drama and people constantly comparing or asking what's so great about Diamond Art Club, blah, 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 I just removed myself from probably 5 or 6 diamond painting groups. I just can't with it anymore. I don't want to see it. I'm a Diamond Art Club huge fan. Love them. I think I always will. I love their artwork. I love the fact that they license the artwork. There was actually someone in one of the posts that was like, I bought Diamond Art Club for a long time, but I'm not going to pay high prices anymore. And I don't care about if it's licensed or not. I do. Me personally, I do. I mean, in the beginning, I had no idea about such a thing. But when I learned it, I pretty much stopped buying kits from like all the other sites. What's nice now is that there are many companies that do licensed artwork, which is fantastic. I mean, the artists for sure should be getting a piece of it, right? Should be getting a benefit and not having their artwork stolen and reproduced in diamond paintings. Now, but the biggest topic, the biggest piece of news is that Diamond Art Club is testing out giving us a choice of square or round for a diamond painting. They released a kit on Saturday. The name of it is Twilight Vibes, and they produced it in both square and round diamonds, so you have a choice. They showed a side-by-side comparison. They were charted exactly the same. Now, mind you, when they did that, they had to hand chart it twice. They hand charted it for squares and for diamonds. Or, you know what? Don't quote me on that. I don't know if they actually did the charting twice, but the round kit, I'm going to click on the hand. Okay, there's a woman named Katie who does, she's part of the sneak peek group. She does sneak peeks. And she said she has a side-by-side comparison of the canvases. She says the hand-charted rendering is 100% identical. This includes the colors. The difference is in the size of the canvas. Since round drills are slightly larger than square drills, the round canvas is bigger. It says Diamond Art Club is testing out offering kits in both drill shapes and will be releasing select kits in both in the future. They've said that depending on how these test run kits go, they may then roll it out more widely. And I looked and it's like, it's awesome. It's awesome that they are doing that. And then immediately I thought to myself, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be pushback because with everything, you can't make everybody happy. I feel like there's going to be people that are going to complain and say, I can't choose. I liked the fact that they chose for you. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that they're even giving it a try because it definitely, to me, is a bigger undertaking than just saying, okay, this kit is square. Okay, this kit is round. And so someone did comment and say, I know both kits are the same, but I'm somebody who loves both shapes and can't decide which to pick. It's too hard of a decision. That's why I like when Diamond Art Club does it for me. And she said, honestly, I'm not really a fan of the idea of choosing whether or not you want a round or square drill kit. I like knowing that when I order a kit, Diamond Art Club has done all the work for me, so I don't have to decide whether or not it is going to look better in a round or a square kit. Well, I mean, when they offer these though, they're going to give the rendering. So you'll be able to make an informed decision, I feel like, when you go to order a kit. You're going to be able to see the rendering. Like I said, I think it's amazing that they are even considering doing this because it's going to be more work on their part, in my opinion. So what do you guys think? Do you like the idea? But again, like I had said, you know, anything you do, and the bottom line too, Diamond Art Club is a business. They do want to please their customers, obviously, but the bottom line is they're a business. There are so many people that have said that they have horrible customer service. I've never experienced anything but wonderful customer service. I'm done seeing the negativity. I love Diamond Art Club so much. Okay, so that didn't take too long to talk about that because, you know, what else is there really to talk about with it? I'll be very curious to see what kits they choose to release in both round and square. So, completely awesome. Again, in my opinion, Diamond Art Club going above and beyond. Okay, so we're going to read a true crime story. Even though I said we probably weren't. But we are. And it's going to be another cold case. We still have 60 pages in this book, so we still got a couple stories. This one is called Evil Eyes. Okay. In the west central lowlands of Scotland, on the banks of the River Clyde, sits the town of Greenock, a picturesque burg of just over 40,000 souls. That's a small town, 40,000 people. These days, it's a relatively tranquil place, relying on banking, insurance, and the call center industry to fund its civic coffers, but it wasn't always so. In earlier times, Greenock, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, it's Greenock. It looks like Greenock, but it's probably Greenock. Whoever, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments. But I'm going to say Greenock. So in earlier times, Greenock was a hub of heavy industry, most specifically shipbuilding. Back in 1986, when our story takes place, the town was caught somewhere between these eras of prosperity. The shipyards were gone, the service industries yet to arrive, unemployment was the norm, and its evil twin, crime, was rampant. Mostly these were property-related offenses, but there was violence too, mainly confined to the rough and tumble East End. The west side of town kept to a more genteel middle-class standard. Within these leafy climes, on a thoroughfare called Argowan Street, lived a girl named Elaine Doyle. Elaine was a responsible young woman, just 16 years old. She had already embarked on her working career, clerking behind the counter at a local jewelry store. She lived at home with her parents, who knew her to be a good girl, a happy girl. Pretty and dark-haired, Elaine was also popular with her peer group. On the night of Sunday, June 1st, 1986, she decided to accompany a friend to a disco hosted by the local chapter of the Celtic Supporters Club. Elaine was actually too young to attend. Remember, Elaine's only 16, but her parents had no qualms about allowing her to go. The club was a walkable distance from home, and Elaine was a mature young woman who had never given them cause for concern. She said her goodbyes that night, promising to be home by no later than 1 a.m. The last words that her father spoke to her were, "Take care." Oh, boy. The following morning, Jack and Maureen Doyle woke to find that their daughter had not returned during the night. They were not unduly concerned by this. Elaine sometimes slept over at a friend's place when she did not want to disturb them by coming in late. You have to remember, this is before cell phones. So Elaine would have had to call the landline to wake her parents up and say, "Hey, I'm staying over at so-and-so's house." On this particular morning, there was also a distraction. Just down the street, there was a hive of activity. Dozens of police officers hovering around the entrance to a narrow lane about 40 yards from their front door. Jack and Maureen did not make the connection between the police activity and their missing daughter until an officer knocked on their door. A young girl's body had been found in the lane, naked, her clothing neatly folded and placed on the ground beside her. Then the officer described the clothes, and the Doyle's world collapsed in around them. a black and white dress, a blue leather jacket, the exact outfit that Elaine had worn for her night out. Oh man, that's so bizarre though that her clothes were neatly folded next to her. What? Elaine's body had been found at around 7 a.m. that morning by a local man who had been walking to his car. He had immediately gone back inside and called the police, who soon arrived to cordon off the area. Officers then started canvassing the neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, this is like, so you would think you got a chance, right, of catching this person. While forensic experts began processing the scene. Given the state of the body, this was clearly a sexually motivated crime, although curiously there was no semen. Well, maybe the guy wore a condom. The forensic team also attempted to retrieve hairs and fibers from the victim using the primitive yet effective method favored in those days. This involved running strips of sticky tape over the skin in the hope of picking up microscopic trace evidence. In this case, they found nothing that could be processed with the technology of the day. The strips were nonetheless bagged and placed in storage. Okay. Later that day, Elaine's body would be removed to the morgue, where it was determined that she had been killed by ligature strangulation. Someone had looped a length of rope around her neck and pulled it tight enough to deprive her of oxygen. Who, though? Who would have done such a terrible thing to an innocent young girl? Let me tell you, that has to be a horrific way to die. Not that there's a great way to die. You know what I'm saying, though. Like, that has to be horrible. That was the question that the police had to answer, and they appeared to get an early break when several witnesses reported that they had seen a red-haired man sprinting through the darkened streets. This man was elevated to the top of the suspect list, with the local newspaper, the Greenwich Telegraph, running an identikit picture on its front page. Another eyewitness report of a young dark-haired man with large, staring eyes was all but ignored. Meanwhile, a massive operation was underway, with police working the route that Elaine would have taken. Additional officers were brought in from across the west of Scotland. Between them, they would knock on over 2,300 doors and take nearly 4,500 statements. Good night. It was all to no avail. Time for the local police to admit defeat and call in the Serious Crime Squad. Okay. The murder of Elaine Doyle sparked panic in Greenwich. Yeah, I'm guessing it would. This was a town with a high crime rate, but a negligible rate of murder. Certainly, the seemingly random killing of a West Side teenager was a rarity. For a time, there were genuine fears that a psycho killer was living among them and might strike again. But as weeks turned into months, those fears began to wane. The failure of the police to arrest a local suspect now led many to believe that the fiend wasn't one of their own after all. The consensus seemed to be that he was probably a trucker passing through the area when Elaine Doyle had the misfortune of encountering him. Maybe. This convenient theory would soon be accepted as fact. Then, a few weeks after the murder, it would be debunked in a stark demonstration. A leather handbag was found smoldering on the steps of the town library, the same bag that Elaine had been carrying on the night she was killed. Why would you be setting it on fire? The killer had apparently held onto it since that date and was now returning it in theatrical fashion. To what purpose? Was this just an attention-seeking stunt? Was it a warning that he was still around and might strike again? No one knew, and that only added to the panic that rippled through the town. Good friggin' night. As it turned out, the handbag incident was the last that the people of Greenwich would hear from the local boogeyman for over 2 decades, so 20 years are going to go by. The Serious Crimes Unit had fared no better than the local cops in tracking him down, and eventually the investigation was scaled back, then shut down completely. It would remain in this dormant state until 2012, when the police launched Operation Evergreen, aimed at bringing the Greenwich Strangler to justice. Wow, 20 years later. This was not some tentative inquiry carried out by a couple of detectives in a back room. This was a massive undertaking involving 40 officers with the full resources of Police Scotland at their disposal. Still, they faced an uphill battle. There were over 14,000 witness statements to go through, hoping for some small shred of evidence that the original investigative team might have missed. There was also, of course, the forensic evidence. It was this that would provide the first break. Remember the sticky tape? On one of the strips of sticky tape, the lab detected the DNA profile of an unknown male. Had there been a match to this profile on the available databases, then the case could have been closed right there, but things seldom come easy in an investigation this old. No match was found. The Operation Evergreen team was going to have to do this the hard way. It would have to track down every man who had been interviewed as a potential suspect at the time of the original inquiry. There were 722 of them. Good night. And some had since died or left the area. 722 people. One of the men who had been interviewed back then was an individual named John Doherty, a local man. Doherty had lived all his life in Greenock, save for a couple of years in the late 80s when he had served in the British Army. Now 49 years old, Doherty was a married man and a father of one, working as a truck driver for the local council. He had an unblemished police record and was known to neighbors and co-workers as a quiet and unassuming individual. In short, he was the last person anyone would suspect of murder. I haven't said that in a while. Yeah, aren't they always, isn't that always the way? When they interview like neighbors of like these serial killers, oh, he was so quiet, never made a peep. Yeah. So be wary, people. But Doherty was on the list, and so a couple of detectives arrived at his home to question him. Back in 1986, when the police issued an appeal for anyone who had been at the Celtic Club to come forward, Doherty had not complied. Sus. It was a friend who had placed him at the Sunday night disco. Now Doherty told the officers that he had been present. He even admitted that he was a former classmate of Elaine's brother, also named John. However, he claimed that he had not known Elaine. He was then asked to provide a DNA swab and agreed to do so. It was this swab that would crack the decades-old case. It was a match to the DNA lifted from Elaine's body. So did he not think that he had left any DNA behind? I'm guessing. But also, let's think about it. If you say, no, I'm not providing a DNA sample, you're going to have to get a warrant. Well, that definitely makes you look guilty, because if you had nothing to hide, you would give your sample, right? Right? Am I right about that? You would want to exonerate yourself, I would think. Okay. Later, when a photo array was presented to the eyewitness who had seen the man with the staring eyes, he picked out Doherty without a moment's hesitation. Even after all these years, he said he could not get those evil eyes out of his mind. Arrested and charged with murder, John Doherty appeared at the Edinburgh High Court in 2014. There, his barrister challenged the validity of the DNA evidence, claiming that it was degraded and had been mishandled by police officers. Probably not. That was perhaps the only option open to the defense, but it turned out to be a losing strategy. John Doherty showed little emotion as he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 21 years. Now remember, he's 49, so he would be 70 before he was even eligible for parole. Justice had been a long time coming for the Doyle family. Sadly, it did not come soon enough for Elaine's dad, Jack. He had died years earlier, never knowing who had snuffed out the life of his beloved daughter. The motive for this terrible crime remains a mystery. Well, let's try to figure that out. John was at the disco where Elaine was. He probably he might have seen her, liked her. So back in 20 years ago, he was 29 and she was 16. Well, that's a big difference. But he may have seen her. Who knows? He may have approached her and she rebuffed him. And then he decided to follow her outside and take what he thought was his. You know what I mean? There are any number of scenarios that could have happened. But obviously, he found her and followed her home and pulled her in that alley. I mean, that alley where she was dead was only 40 yards from their house. So she might have been on her way home when he came up behind her, grabbed her, pulled her in there, raped her, strangled her, then neatly folded her clothes, and yeah. And you know, what I always think when I hear like these cold cases and things that we also see like on 2020 years go by, people think they got away with it. They become comfortable. They're not going to be caught, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? There is no statute of limitations on murder. So you can commit a murder and be convicted of it 20, 30, 40 years later, as we have seen in many of these cases. So yeah. Another good story, but bad story. There's a new Deadly Women book out, which I'm so excited. Those stories are always such a hot mess. After we're done the cold case book, we're going to go to that one. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed seeing me do a little bit of diamond painting. It is very hard for me to diamond paint and be able to look at a story and read it. So I do the best I can when I do that. That's why I like to do the voiceovers, but it just takes so much extra time. You know what I should do? And maybe I'll try to, like when I have a couple minutes, I have a voice recorder on my phone. I should just start recording the stories, and then all I have to do like on a Sunday, like record the stories during the week and just have them saved on my phone. And then all I have to do is diamond paint, add my diamond painting to it. Yeah, I might try that when I have like a free minute and just, you know, we'll see. But I also like live diamond painting and reading it so you can hear like my true reaction and all of that stuff. So I hope you guys are all having a good Sunday and doing all the things. It's actually pretty nice here today. So as always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.